For Victims and Villains, my name is Josh, and today we are jumping into the mysterious Blu-ray release of Monolith. Now, this video was supposed to be out a week ago. I do apologize for getting it out so late to you guys. I have been so freaking sick last week, and I am just still getting over it. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. But if you guys are interested in what I have to say, Monolith is now available on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital. I will provide a link in the show notes below. So let's jump in and let's get spooky about it. Monolith depicts the story of a disgraced journalist who is plotting a comeback via a conspiracy theory podcast where she's essentially trying to deconstruct a conspiracy theory about black bricks. Yes, you heard that right, and the story just kind of goes off from there. For the most part, this is a slow burn film, and it is all the better because it is a slow burn film. With that slow burn pacing for the first two acts of the film, it is really able to explore the disgrace of the Lily Sullivan character, but also at the same time really build up the mystery and lore of this entire black brick phenomenon. And the thing that I really like about how the black bricks are presented is it kind of seems like it's presented off as kind of just a silly internet thing, and it actually kind of, the way that the story unfolds is that you're not really quite sure if it's like authentic or not, or real or not, and it's really, you're going through this debunking process with our main character, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that it was really fascinating because typically you don't see that type of stuff in sci-fi. Typically, the sci-fi films that I've come across, weird things just kind of happened and characters just kind of accept that it happens. And that's not always the case, but it's the majority of the films that I've seen, and I like that this one kind of took a different angle with it. It felt really refreshing, and it kind of really gripped me as I was watching this and brought me to the edge of my seat. And with that said, I really have to talk and praise Lily Sullivan for this performance. For 94 freaking minutes, she is the only character that we spend time with on screen. And while, yes, she does interact with other characters via phone calls, it is nothing compared to the incredible performance that Sullivan delivers here. A movie like Monolith does not work unless you have a talented actor or actress at the forefront to take the audience through this incredible journey. Some of you may or may not remember, but Lily Sullivan was actually one of the lead actors in last year's beautiful film, Evil Dead Rise, and she was incredible in that. And if this is the trajectory that she is expected to go, to just kind of pick projects where she is just going to be able to really explore and just really divulge all of her talents, please, I will take less work from her if it means that the performances are absolutely knockouts one after another. Because she takes what she did in Rise and really applies it and amplifies it here in Monolith. I talked about the first two acts of this having really great pacing. Once the kind of big reveal happens at not necessarily the start of the first act, but the pacing of the last act just feels so disjointed from the first two acts. Like, the first two acts have that perfect in-step pacing where you're kind of discovering who she is, discovering what these bricks are, discovering who has these bricks, why they have them, even building up the lore around them. And then the third act, there's one thing that happens. I'm not going to spoil it, obviously, but one key moment that happens, and it just reframes the entire film for one, but also at the same time, it completely just sends the pacing into overdrive. And this is kind of unfortunately where the film really kind of started to lose me. There are a couple times where there are moments that happen throughout the film also where there's something cool that happens that's visually appealing, but it doesn't really have a payoff. And that's kind of also one of my gripes with this movie, is that I wish that it would have been such a sick payoff had we seen a follow through with it. Overall, I'm ready to run this one through the Rorschach rating scale. I'm going to go ahead and give Monolith a 4 out of 5. I think overall this is a solid sci-fi film with some really tight and really beautiful horror aesthetic to it. Lily Sullivan's performance is gripping, it's riveting, and it ultimately ends up by the end to be heartbreaking. It does have some pacing issues, but overall, this is a really solid sci-fi and genre piece. So if you are a fan of either the sci-fi or horror genre, I highly recommend this one. If you guys have seen Monolith, what did you guys think? Comment below, let me know. Monolith is now available on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital, wherever you guys get your films from Wellgo Entertainment and XYZ Films. So comment below, let me know, and if you guys want to check it out, links are in the show notes below. But let's talk about mental health. If you guys are new to our content, Mental Health Moment is where we take a theme of mental health out of the film which we're reviewing, talk about it for a few moments in the hopes to deconstruct the stigma surrounding mental health. As I mentioned earlier, I talked about in the synopsis that this film does explore the comeback of a disgraced journalist, and really what I found interesting about this is that it is kind of showcasing the levels of people will go through for harassment for people that they don't even really know, and B, also you get to see how that harassment really affects and the mental health of the recipient. Whether or not the situation or the statement or whatever the fact is, whether it's true or false, at the end of the day, there are still people involved in all of these things, and harassment has an impact on someone's mental health. As a former victim of bullying myself, I feel like a lot of that harassment that I had during those formative years really formed and formulated and stunted my growth on what it was as an individual and as my identity, because I just believed what everyone said about me. And sometimes what people say is true, and sometimes it takes some detective work to find out if it is true or not, and verifying the sources of things that are being said or what they're being said about. But also at the end of the day, thinking about how that is impacting the person that is on the receiving end of it. Like, what would you do if that was you? And I love that this film ultimately explores the mental health aspect and impact of such things. So whether you've been a victim of bullying, you know someone who is, you've been through harassment, or a number of other things that this movie addresses or that I've talked about in this short video, it can cause things like depression, suicide, addiction, self-harm, or any number of things. And if that is you currently right now, click the links in the show notes below to check out our mental health resource library. Monolith is now available on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital from Wellgo Entertainment and XYZ Films. In the show notes below, you guys will find links, more information about who we are, Patreon, social media, podcasts, more movie reviews, and that subscribe button below. So until next time, remember to keep it classy and keep it spooky.